What if the answer to Dallas's championship aspirations lies not in chasing superstars, but in a calculated three-team chess move that could transform Cooper Flagg from promising rookie into legitimate franchise cornerstone? The NBA rumor mill has exploded with one of the most intriguing trade proposals of the 2025 season, and it centers around a franchise desperately searching for answers. Bill Simmons, never one to shy away from bold declarations, has thrown gasoline on the trade deadline fire with a three-way blockbuster involving the Dallas Mavericks, Chicago Bulls, and Golden State Warriors. But here's what makes this different from typical hot-take fodder. This proposal actually makes basketball sense for everyone involved, particularly for the development of Dallas's prized rookie, Cooper Flagg. Let's cut through the noise and examine why this trade could be the seismic shift that reshapes the Western Conference playoff picture. Dallas finds itself in basketball purgatory, that uncomfortable space between contention and rebuilding where franchises make career-defining decisions. With Derek Lively, too, potentially sidelined for an extended period, the Mavericks face a brutal reality. Their frontcourt depth has evaporated faster than water in a Texas summer. Daniel Gafford, the athletic rim runner who's provided valuable minutes, has surfaced in trade discussions. Under normal circumstances, moving your backup center during an injury crisis would be organizational malpractice. But these aren't normal circumstances. The Mavericks are playing chess while others play checkers, and Simmons has identified the perfect combination of moves. Here's the proposed framework that has NBA front offices buzzing. Dallas receives. Coby White from Chicago receives. Jonathan Kuminga from Golden State receives. Daniel Gafford and an expiring contract from Dallas. At first glance, trading away your center depth during a center injury crisis seems counterintuitive. But dig deeper, and the strategic brilliance emerges like a perfectly executed pick and roll. Cooper Flagg arrived in Dallas with generational talent written all over his scouting report. The Duke product possesses the rare combination of size, skill, and basketball IQ that franchise-altering players are built upon. But even transcendent talents need the right ecosystem to flourish, and that's precisely where Dallas has stumbled. The Mavericks' guard situation has been, to put it diplomatically, suboptimal. They've desperately needed a secondary ball handler who can create offense, knock down perimeter shots, and, crucially, take pressure off their rookie sensation. Enter Coby White. White, at just 25 years old, represents the perfect developmental partner for Flagg. He's averaging career-best numbers and has evolved from a score-first combo guard into a legitimate two-way contributor. His ability to operate both on and off the ball would provide Dallas with the offensive versatility they've been missing since the season tipped off. Simmons nailed it when he observed that Dallas has finally realized how to try to grow his career instead of ruin it. The league is littered with cautionary tales of talented rookies thrust into impossible situations without adequate support. The Mavericks appear determined not to repeat those mistakes. Pairing White with Flagg creates immediate synergy. White's penetration ability would collapse defenses, creating the kind of driving lanes and kick-out opportunities that would allow Flagg to showcase his complete offensive arsenal. Defensively, White has improved dramatically, meaning Dallas wouldn't be sacrificing their identity on that end of the floor. The age alignment is equally critical. At 25, White fits perfectly into Dallas's timeline. This isn't a win-now rental that mortgages the future. It's a foundational piece that could grow alongside Flagg for the next half-decade. Building a championship core requires more than one superstar. It demands complementary talents who elevate each other's games. White and Flagg could develop that chemistry immediately. Simmons dropped a fascinating observation about Chicago's current predicament. The moment White came back to Chicago, it kind of screwed them up. I'm not positive they need him. That's not a knock on White's talent. It's an acknowledgement of roster construction reality. The Bulls have too many mouths to feed in the backcourt, and their wing depth remains questionable at best. Jonathan Kuminga would address that deficiency immediately. Kuminga represents the kind of high-ceiling, athletic wing that every playoff team covets. His development in Golden State has been inconsistent, partly due to limited opportunities in a veteran-heavy rotation. Chicago could offer him the expanded role and touches necessary to unlock his considerable potential. For a Bulls franchise stuck in mediocrity, acquiring a 22-year-old with all-star upside makes perfect sense. They'd be trading a good player for a potentially great one, gambling on development rather than settling for comfortable irrelevance. That's the kind of calculated risk that separates perennial playoff teams from championship contenders. The Bulls' wing rotation desperately needs an injection of athleticism and defensive versatility. Kuminga provides both in abundance. His ability to guard multiple positions would give Chicago the defensive flexibility to switch more aggressively, while his improving offensive game would add another dimension to their attack. The Warriors find themselves in an unusual position. Still competitive, but clearly no longer the dynasty that dominated the late 2010s. Moving Kuminga might seem counterintuitive for a team trying to maximize Stephen Curry's remaining prime years, but acquiring Daniel Gafford addresses a glaring need. Golden State's center position has been a revolving door of mediocrity. Gafford brings legitimate rim protection, vertical spacing, and the kind of athletic finishing ability that would thrive in the Warriors' motion-heavy offense. Imagine Gafford rolling to the rim with Curry orchestrating. That's the stuff defensive coordinators have nightmares about. The expiring contract Dallas would include provides Golden State with financial flexibility moving forward, allowing them to retool around Curry without being hamstrung by long-term salary commitments. For a franchise facing luxury tax concerns and an aging core, that flexibility is invaluable. Gafford's skill set complements Golden State's system perfectly. He doesn't need plays called for him, he finishes efficiently around the basket, and he provides the rim protection that's been missing since their championship runs. In the Warriors' up-tempo system, Gafford could experience a career renaissance similar to what JaVale McGee enjoyed during his Golden State tenure. Simmons posed the critical question, does anyone have to throw a pick into that trade? This is where negotiations get fascinating. On pure talent evaluation, the trade feels relatively balanced. White is a proven commodity, Kuminga is high-upside youth, and Gafford is a quality role player with an expiring deal. But NBA trades are never purely about basketball. They're about leverage, desperation, and perceived value. Dallas might need to include a second-round pick to grease the wheels, particularly if Chicago views White as more valuable than the market suggests. Conversely, Golden State might demand compensation for taking on salary, even if it's expiring. These details separate theoretical proposals from actual transactions. The pick discussion also reveals each team's internal evaluation of their own assets. If Dallas refuses to include draft capital, it signals they view White as merely a complementary piece rather than a game-changer. If Chicago demands picks on top of Kuminga, they're acknowledging White's value to their system despite the roster fit concerns. Here's where the proposal faces its biggest obstacle: Derek Lively's injury timeline. If he's out for weeks rather than months, Dallas might be hesitant to sacrifice Gafford's frontcourt insurance. But if the injury proves more serious, the calculus changes dramatically. The Mavericks can't afford to waste Flagg's rookie season waiting for perfect health. Championship windows are fragile, and even young cores need momentum to develop winning habits. Acquiring White now, even at the cost of center depth, might be the aggressive move that separates Dallas from the pack of middling Western Conference teams. There's also the reality that Gafford's trade value might never be higher. He's playing well, he's on a reasonable contract, and multiple teams need center help. Waiting until the trade deadline could mean watching his value diminish if his play regresses or if the market becomes saturated with available big men. If this trade materializes, the ripple effects would extend far beyond the three teams involved. Dallas would instantly become a more dangerous playoff opponent, armed with the guard depth that's been their Achilles heel. Chicago would signal a commitment to youth and upside over comfortable mediocrity. Golden State would demonstrate they're still willing to make bold moves to maximize Curry's twilight years. The Western Conference playoff race is already a bloodbath. Adding a rejuvenated Mavericks team with a properly supported Cooper Flagg could shift the entire power structure. Teams like the Timberwolves, Nuggets, and Thunder would suddenly face a Dallas squad with legitimate two-way balance and developmental momentum. For Flagg specifically, this trade could be career-defining. The difference between struggling through a rookie season with inadequate support versus thriving alongside a complementary guard like White could alter his entire developmental trajectory. History is filled with talented rookies who never recovered from disastrous first seasons. Dallas appears determined to avoid that fate. Bill Simmons has done what great basketball minds do. He's identified a trade that makes everyone better while addressing specific organizational needs. Whether it actually happens depends on factors beyond pure basketball logic, ego, internal evaluations, and the willingness of three front offices to execute a complex multi-team transaction. But here's what we know for certain. The Dallas Mavericks need help, Cooper Flagg deserves better support, and this trade proposal offers a legitimate solution. Coby White isn't a superstar, but he's exactly the kind of complementary talent that championship teams are built around. At 25 years old, he fits Dallas's timeline perfectly while providing the immediate impact necessary to keep their playoff hopes alive. The question isn't whether this trade makes sense, it clearly does. The question is whether Dallas has the courage to sacrifice short-term frontcourt depth for long-term backcourt excellence. Championship teams make uncomfortable decisions. Mediocre teams play it safe and wonder why they never break through. Cooper Flagg's career trajectory might depend on which category Dallas falls into. What do you think? Should the Mavericks pull the trigger on this three-team blockbuster, or would trading Gafford during Lively's injury be organizational malpractice? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to smash that like button if you want to see more in-depth trade analysis that goes beyond the surface-level hot takes.